I'm going to talk about cow milk. So when our moms told us to drink cow milk, we trusted them and we believed that it's going to make us stronger and healthier. According to Index Mundi, a data portal, and it gathers facts and statistics from multiple sources. Americans listen to their mothers, and we consume about 89,000 metric tons a year, which is 10 times higher than the Japanese consumption per year. In contrast, according to Joseph Keon, writer of Whitewash, the disturbing truth about cow milk and your health. North Americans are some of the least healthy people in the world, and one in three Americans will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. Okay, so I want to explain why our mothers were wrong and they were misled. And the truth is that cow milk consumption has a significant negative effect on human health. And I will show it in two parts. First, cow milk is strenuous for the human digestive system and lacks the nutrients needed for its proper operation. And cow milk has an unbalanced nutritional content that can lead to unsound health. So let's start with the first one. Cow milk is strenuous for the human digestive system and lacks the nutrients needed for its proper operation. So humans are naturally designed to consume not naturally designed to consume lactose throughout their life. So lactose, according to the Encyclopedic Dictionary of Biology, is a disaturated sugar. It's found in cow milk. And lactase is the enzyme that breaks it down. So when you were young, we breastfeed from our mom's milk, and we're able to break that lactose because we produce a lot of lactase. But as we grow older, we stop breastfeeding. After a year, our body stops manufacturing as much lactase, so it's harder for us to digest the lactose. So in some cases, people even have lactose intolerance. According to Harvard School of Public Health, 50% of whites, 70% of African Americans, and 90% of Asians are lactose intolerant. And an article by Dr. Karchin, he wrote that in his article, The Milk Letter, a message to my patients, he said that animals, like cows, cats, and dogs, naturally stop consuming milk after their infancy stage, and that we're the only mammals that actually consume milk after that step. And also at the same point, cow milk is also formulated to meet the nutritional needs of cows. Dr. Michael Tyler, a chiropractic physician, he's a fellow in the American Academy of Orthomolecular Medicine. He stated in an interview on a show called Let's Eat that it's a dietary error to cross species to get milk from one another, and that it takes human infants about 180 days to double their birth weight, and it takes cows 45 days. And that's because cow milk has 50% protein and cow milk has 5 to 7% protein. So we see that cow milk lacks the balance that we need for our diet. So we can see that the cow milk content of lactose is not a natural element, and the proteins and amino acids found in cow milk are not adequate for our development. So my second issue is that cow milk has an unbalanced nutritional content that can lead to unsound health. So cow milk has been linked to anemia, allergies, diarrhea, skin rashes, arthritis, diabetes, and several more. But I would like to focus on a couple of them. So first, cow milk has been linked to various types of cancer. In an article, Cancer Prevention and Survival, Dr. Neil Barnard discusses different studies which link prostate cancer to milk consumption. And he says that dairy products may influence the incidence of progression of prostate cancer by several possible mechanisms. He compared several studies, and he showed that most of them showed that the connection, and the ones that didn't show the connection actually had an invalid study behind them. And also, another cancer that's been linked to cow milk is lymphatic organs, the cancer of lymphatic organs. And a study done in Norway by the British Journal of cancer in March 1990 showed that if one drank 2 glasses or more of dairy products, the odds were 3.4 times greater than a person that drank less than 1 cup a day. So we see a strong correlation between milk and cancer. And another correlation is that dairy are commonly contaminated. According to prevention.com, milk, cheese, and butter are placed second after meat and the most contaminated food. They show that, according to the FDA and the USDA, antibiotics, drugs, and hormones are standard in animal industry, and the fat and dairy products poses a high risk of contamination by pesticides. So that's directly passed to the human consumer. Also, according to the Center of Science in the Public Interest and the Wall Street Journal, a study done in 1989 showed that 38% of milk cereals in 10 cities were contaminated with sulfur drugs and other antibiotics. So we're taught that it's healthy and natural, but we can see that we're more prone to contaminants and antibiotics that instead exist in the milk due to poor treatment of the cows. So I would like to remind you that humans have a hard time digesting cow milk, and it's also inadequate for human consumption. And it also, cow milk is commonly contaminated, so it's, and its natural components can lead to different types of cancer.
Could you give me the time?
6:33.
Thank you. All right, you give us a lot of background, and you start off with just the phrase, and you need to slow down and give us an example here. I couldn't figure out at first what the heck you were talking about, and I've got the outline. So I should have figured it out much quicker. When you do clarify, I did hear your proposition clearly stated, and I thought that there was a good preview of what the supporting points were going to be. And in the body of the speech, you do a pretty good job labeling them. You used the same claims again, and you also have some numerical signposts on those, which I definitely appreciated. I think that helped quite a bit. Most of your evidence you cite sources on. I think you're doing a pretty good job on that, although why the chiropractic physician is talking about milk as a nutritional supplement was a little unclear to me. And you did cite a study on contamination that's 23 years old, so I'm not sure that that's a contemporary enough reference for us to be making an inference about what the contamination levels are like now and whether or not the rules are the same or the procedures are the same. I thought it was kind of interesting the inference that you made in the opening about how the Japanese consume 1/10 as much milk as us. And I'm going, oh, well, that's pretty different. I wonder if it's a cultural thing. And then later on, you mentioned that they have 90% lactose intolerance in that racial category. I'm going, well, that would explain it. Why they're consuming a lot less. So maybe it's got more to do with that than it has to do with the decision that it's unhealthy. It's just what works and what doesn't work for different kinds of people. What you need to do especially is show, particularly for people who are consuming milk at the high levels, you're just talking about, the general comparisons, for instance, on that first point between the Japanese and Americans and the health status. I liked it better when your evidence made a direct relationship to milk, although sometimes the evidence was a little bit thin on those conclusions. The one on the prostate link, for instance, says there could be some explanations that connect it without necessarily saying that this is in fact a connection. That seemed to me a little bit thin on that point. You're doing more reading than you want, and it's rushing a little bit, so your articulation is sometimes not as clear as it needs to be. Slow down, talk to us a little bit, look up occasionally, make sure that we can follow what you're saying so that it doesn't just seem like you're zipping through it. I know you've got a lot of data, and that's one of the reasons that you're trying to go as quick as you are. All right, thank you.